We're back, another edition of The Climb, and we got a special guest, a new face with us, Devyn Sax. Everyone give her a hand.
Hey
Woo!
guys, what's up?
All right, so she is a good friend of the program, good friend of Team Garbo, and what I like to call a frontline worker at the mental health community. She is a therapist. She teaches master's courses in therapy, and she's doing the Lord's work. We're just spreading the word, and she's doing the work. So kudos to you, Devyn.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that
We
intro.
appreciate that. Yeah, we appreciate you and what you do, and I know that's a bold intro, but why don't you kind of introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, what you do, how you got started in the field?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like AJ said, my name is Devyn Sax. I am a mental health therapist. So, I work in a community mental health setting. It didn't always start like that. I changed my major a couple of times until I really got comfortable with the whole idea of therapy and counseling. I think a big part of what motivated me to get into the field was just knowing people who were impacted by mental health struggles, specifically my sister. So, this is someone that I have grown up with. She's my younger sister, so I'm kind of like the mama bear to her. Um, but I think a big part of what motivated me to get into the field was seeing her and the things that she went through. Currently, I've been in the field for a couple of years now. I am working towards getting my license to practice on my own. So that is kind of what's in the works right now. Typically, my day to day, I would say I see between 5 to 6 clients. I
Wow.
run a couple of support groups, which is also awesome as well. Um, I think a big part of therapy is just kind of trusting the process as well. And I think we'll get into that a little bit, that not every therapy session is going to be a walk in the park. But I love what I do, and I'm definitely happy to spread the knowledge here with you, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, 5 to 6 sessions in support groups. I mean, when do you have
Yeah.
time for yourself?
You barely. I mean, barely.
That's
No, but it's,
awesome.
yeah, it's awesome. It really is.
Yeah, and I think it's nice to see, your story getting into the field, and it's also nice to see, a young face. I feel like there's stigma behind therapists and it being old doctors having you lay down on a couch, leather staring up at the ceiling, and it may be that way, but it's nice to see that you're, kind of taking this and running with it. So, I mean, can you probably just share what you think the benefits are to therapy to your clients? And I know they range, so there's probably a lot.
Yeah. So I think, again, like you said, therapy is not a one size fits all. And I think we think of therapy as you lay on a couch, you vent whatever is coming to
Mhm.
mind. And granted, that can happen. But I like to tell my clients, when you come in here, I'm going to give you what you need, whether it's venting about how your day at work was,
Mhm.
or if it's something a little bit more deep than that. And I think a big thing is that nothing is really off limits in therapy. It's supposed to be a safe space for people. And I make sure that I try to provide that for my clients, the ones that I see, because there have been a lot who have been pretty skeptical of the process.
Sure.
So I just try to make sure, I mean, say I'm meeting with a new client, I try to just let them know, we're a team. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm here to support you. And I think a big part of therapy is, say you go into therapy and you have a bad experience with one therapist, it's automatically like, I'm never going to return to therapy ever again.
Mhm.
um, but I think it's also just about finding the right person for you, and it might take a couple. And I've talked to my clients about that too. Like, I want to be really transparent with them. If you feel like I'm not a good fit for you, let's talk about it. I want
Yeah.
to put you in a position where you can thrive in your treatment. um, and I think, I see there is no like golden standard to a client. I see all types of people all day long during the week. Each person has a very different story, and why they have come to therapy is very different.
Mhm.
So I think being able to see that from my perspective is pretty neat as well.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're getting so much experience and still yet, striving to have your own practice and seeing so many people. And I think the dialogue that you have up front is awesome. That, hey, listen, I may not work for you, you may not work for me, this may not jive, but let's be honest with each other, because I think one of the biggest things is it's so hard just to show up to therapy. And kudos to everyone that does that job, but that's half the battle. Like you gotta actually put in the work. Um, and I commend you for opening up that line of communication because it's that simple. It's a hey, kudos to you for showing up, but this may not even work. We got to find you someone that does. So has there been a time where like you've maybe talked to people and said, hey, listen, up front, this is what I'm gonna do, but if it doesn't work, we should find different ways. How often does that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, a big part of therapy, and I know when I went through school and everything, one of the biggest things that we focus on is doing no harm. So if I were to not have a conversation with a client about, hey, if this isn't working, we can find you someone else, I would be continuing to foster a therapeutic relationship that wouldn't be doing them any good.
Mm,
Um, Yet, I mean, knock on wood, I haven't had a client say this isn't working, and I guess that's a good thing, but I'm sure I will run into that. It's just
sure.
part of the field. But I try to make sure if it's like the first session I'm getting to know someone that is like right on the table, because I never want someone to feel like they have to show up if they're not getting anything. Just like every client might not match with a therapist, I might not be the therapist for you. There will be someone that will
Yeah.
align with your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. But I think again, just having that open dialogue and the transparency, I think, is just the most important part as a therapist and as a client.
Now, I've been in therapy for 7 years, and I had a therapist for 6 years, and it ran a great course, and it really helped like put me in the right direction. But then when I started with this therapist I've been with for over a year now, I have seen a lot in return, but it's because I've given a lot more.
Yeah.
So, how do you encourage people that are seeing therapy to really put in that work? Because it essentially, the more they open up, the more benefit they get. And I know that's hard, but it sounds like you lay that foundation right up front that this is a safe space and we're here for you. So, I'm curious how that, does for people else listening here.
Yeah, so I think a big part again is like trusting the process. I say it in my groups, I say it in my one-on-one sessions that whatever you put into therapy, you will get out of it. If it's a little
Mhm.
bit, if it's a lot, but you'll start to see things in your life kind of, I guess, turning out in more positive ways.
Mhm.
And I try to tell my clients, obviously, you're not going to come in every single session wanting to share everything that's going on, and that's okay. I'll never force a client to, talk about anything in particular. But I definitely do focus on the fact that when you come into my office and you are vulnerable and, this is a safe space for you, and you're able to really it's almost like getting uncomfortable,
Yeah,
you will feel more comfortable in return, if that kind of makes sense. And I think a
sure.
big part of therapy is being very uncomfortable. Um, and I think a lot of people tend to avoid that. But I think with time, as you start to open up more, you see the gains in all areas of your
Mhm.
life. So I'm encouraging it all the time.
Yeah, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's a
Yeah.
good way to put it. And
Absolutely.
I mean, it just sounds like too when people are starting that road, they're starting to open up. They see benefits. I mean, I tell everyone that therapy is like the best exercise. It's like go run 5 miles, go lift, go that. The endorphins you get after walking out of that door after a good session, it's the same thing. So, I mean, what are for the vast people that you've seen, different people? What's some of the benefits that you can visually see from people?
I think I work with a lot of people. So I work in community mental health. So I see a very wide range of clients from like persistent mental illness to someone coming in who's maybe experiencing anxiety or depression for the first time and is just unsure where to go or who to talk to.
Hmm.
And I think one of the most rewarding things for me is like seeing clients, I guess, grow over time, whether it's them talking more in sessions over a couple of months, or they finally go after applying for a job that they were really anxious about at first. I see a lot of people mending relationships that they thought might have been completely tarnished. So I think it's rewarding for me to see that there are benefits to therapy and it's not just
Hmm.
this mumbo jumbo idea of like,
Yeah.
go and talk to someone about your problems. So I think you see the benefits in all areas of life. And again, it's not a one size fits all. So there are benefits in relationships, in self esteem, in just personal motivation to get back out there. And I think again, it's just a big push for people.
Yeah, it's that I have to say it too, like that unbiased third party. That like there's no bullshit in there. When
Yeah,
you're paying this person to work with you, but they're not going to lie to you. They're not going to BS. And
right.
when they say, "Hey, you're doing really well,"
Mhm.
the people around you might be saying that, but you may not be taking it in. But when that third party, unbiased person goes, "Hey, listen, you're doing like really well," you're like, "Oh shit!" Like I feel like I'm doing well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's a good little
Absolutely.
breakthrough moment.
It is, and I think there's so many breakthroughs in therapy. And I had a conversation with one of my supervisors, and she said people fear failure a lot,
Hmm.
but a lot of our clients fear success because it's something that they've never experienced before. So it's this like new foreign idea of wow, I can be good, I can feel well, and it can be really intimidating to see results. So I think that too, just being able to support them in the fact that you can do better and you can be well. Um, and it's okay to do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really interesting that you say like, fear of success because I've always told people like you don't need to have bipolar disorder like myself. Like granted, I just love therapy. It's good for me.
Mm,
It's good for, anyone with my diagnosis.
yeah.
But like you can be healthy, quote unquote, and
Right.
still go to therapy. And you
Mhm.
have like, yeah, let's talk about success. I mean, let's talk about the pressures in this world. People that are, our age, older, or even people trying to retire. There's just pressures that have never been around before. And it's okay, even if you're not, with a mental illness, to go see therapy because it's truly healthy to have that unbiased third party talking you through things.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I say everyone can benefit from therapy. I mean, I have a therapist. I think it's so important for me to go talk to my therapist. I
Yeah.
take on a lot every single day. And I think again, being able to like switch roles a little bit and me be the client and me have my own person has done me wonders in the field.
Mhm.
And it keeps me from getting to a point where I feel like I can't be there for my clients because that's a whole other beast in itself. But I think
Yeah.
again, anyone can benefit from therapy. Um, even if you don't think you could talk about anything, you will find something. I can guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great feeling too.
Yeah.
Well, I know we could go on for hours to talk about
Yeah.
this. We'll have to have you on more
Yeah.
in the future. But can you give that viewer of this video, the audience, someone that's on the fringe of wanting to go to therapy or being asked, hey, maybe it's beneficial, or maybe a loved one indirectly needs to go to therapy and they're trying to help them out? Any words of advice, like within 60 seconds of advice around therapy, going there and making that first step?
Yeah, again, I'm going to say it again for the third time. Trust the process. You don't know the benefits of therapy until you try them. And I always tell people try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to go back. But I think one of the best things you could do for yourself is take care of yourself. And, getting into therapy is definitely that. So it can be intimidating, but there are definitely people here to support you. So lean into it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, that was a great climb, everyone. We're going to have Devin on for more because there's way more that she can share and a lot more questions I have.
sure.
So, thank you for joining. And everyone, hope you enjoyed this one. And we'll see Devin in the future.
Thanks, AJ. Take care, guys.
All right.